Like, this is my wheelhouse now.
Yeah, I was excited. I think somebody quoted me as pig in mud. I've heard that a couple times. I said, geez, I shouldn't have said that. I keep getting gifts of pigs rolling around in mud from people, and I don't remember saying it, but obviously I said it. Yeah, so now I get gifts of pigs in mud, and I'm like, what in the world does that mean? And then they tell me whatever. So I was very excited. I had sat here, obviously being in it for 13 years, and then being here. I always watched, for years. I would always at the end of the season go, I just love to study offenses and what makes offenses tick, and not just ours or air raid or whatever. So you always look at like the top 5, top 10 offenses in the country, and they all had basically the same MO. They didn't run a lot of plays, but they were great at a handful of stuff. And when you looked at the top offenses in the country, year in, year out, it was 2 things that stood out. It was academies, Army, Navy, right, Air Force, and then it was the Oklahomas, it was the Texas Techs or wherever, back in the day. So when you look at those, and even to an extent, Baylor, years ago when they were running a version of it. So, I always envision, man, with the players that we have here, if we could run a version of this system, like we could shoot up to that, And so as soon as I heard that Garrett was coming, it was like, man, I was like, obviously I was excited, but the flip side of it is like for years, I wanted to get back to that. And I didn't have to leave Clemson to get back to that, which is even better. So for me, I mean, I can't say. And I'd heard a lot of great. Me and Garrett both were like, I know his brother, over the years, but me and Garrett both was like, when he first got here, he was like, I think I've met you somewhere. I think we've come across each other somewhere, but he couldn't get past. I guess because I had the beard, it didn't connect. So one day he's in my office and my business card, obviously I'm clean shaven in my business card. And he's like, I knew I'd met you somewhere before. And it was when he was at East Carolina, and I would go up there to see Lincoln and talk ball, and he was up there. So anyway, it's been good to just, grow a relationship with him. And like I said, I'm super fired up that we get to do this at Clemson, and we get to see this offense at Clemson with the talent that we got.
How does Garrett's version of the air raid compare to what you were in? And if there's some new elements that you had to learn?
Almost identical. Not much difference. There's a couple things, maybe odd end stuff that maybe I did different, and there was a couple things odd end stuff that he does different. But I mean, those are like one-offs, not from a base core, conceptual part of the offense, like identical.
Seems like there's a lot more balls in the air in practice now, just 2 quarterbacks throwing it at a time, receivers throwing on the side, that kind of stuff. Just how much do you think that helps too, or do you think it does help some?
All right, so I don't know if you're taping this, but we got to rewind the tape, all right? Remember what I said, you got to practice it a certain way, right? So none of that stuff is foreign to me, because in 2003, when I was down in Louisiana learning this offense, southeastern Louisiana, all right? Get your coordinates right, all right? When I was learning the offense, that's what I was told, 2003. You got to practice it a certain way, and those are certain ways that you got to practice it. Quarterbacks got to throw balls, and they got to throw to the guys that's going to catch them, receivers, running backs, tight ends. And there should be no wasted rep. Nobody should be standing around when we could have 5 balls flying. Let's go. And I did some of that. Y'all would probably see my pre-practice a little bit last year, and in between drills, I did a lot of that with the tight ends. That was the group that I could control and handle, and that's what we did. We did some of the pre-practice drills that we do now. We did those it was just on a smaller scale with tight ends, but you got to believe in a lot of stuff, and the practice and the way you practice and that part that you're seeing, that's it. You got to do that. And if you don't, you're going to be just average with the scheme. So that's why you see that.
To the average fan or whoever, what's the most obvious way this offense is going to look different? Like, what are they going to see? It's like, oh, that's how it's different.
I mean, every offense. I mean, to the average fan, they just want to see people making plays, And to me, I think you put in this offense, you put players in better positions to make plays. So, I mean, there's some plays that are in this scheme that we've run for 7 and 8 years and 9 and, all the way back to Chad. But just overall, with it being easier, not as much, and now you can spend more time formation up people, motion up people, change the look for the defense. It just puts players in better space to make plays. So I would say that would be the biggest thing. You'll probably see. I know we're going to throw the ball downfield more than in the past. There's a lot of crossing routes and intermediate in the middle, in between the hashes that are part of the concept. So you'll see probably more balls in that 10 to 15 yard area in the middle of the field. So you'll see some things like that maybe stand out. But at the end of the day, it's about putting our best players in position to make plays. And it's just easier to do that when you're not kind of locked in a box of this play has to be this, it has to be these people on the field, and they're stuck where they are. That's not really how this is. This play may be that, and we may do this, and this, and move this guy around in 3-4 different positions 3 different times, but it's still this play. So the quarterback don't care where they're all at. He just knows what? This play. Does that make sense? So it allows somebody like Antonio, all right? Like, we go into a week and we go, how can we get tone on their worst DB without changing the offense? How can we get Brenny on their worst interior defender without changing the play? So that's probably what you'll see a little bit more of. And then obviously the receivers are going to, the outside receivers are going to stay on their sides. We're not going to be moving all over the place. That'll probably be one of the biggest things that you'll see a big difference. The average fan, you won't see a lot of people running around to get lined up. We'll get lined up quick, and then from there, we can either run the play quick or we can just run it at a normal tempo, but we'll be able to get lined up quicker and not just kind of be all over the place, kind of herky-jerky to even get lined up to start the play. And that will probably be, now I'm thinking about it, that'll be probably one of the bigger things that you'll see. And I also think you'll be able to take advantage of Maffa and Shipley and those guys. So here's what's going to happen. With being able to spread people out and being able to attack more downfield, even in some of the screen game, what's going to happen is you're going to lighten up that box because the threat, not necessarily what the percentages are, but the threat of you being able to throw the football at a high level is going to loosen that box up because they got to come out and defend. And now you're going to get Phil, you're going to get Shipley, you're going to get them on 5-man boxes or really loose boxes just from the threat of the pass. I used to kid around I never, when I was at Northwestern, I'd never called the offense air raid. Like, I didn't get called, like, a name doesn't mean anything. It's about what you execute and what you do. But, a lot of the media would be like, man, air raid, so that means what? We're going to throw it all over the place. They come to practice and see routes on air and see 5 quarterbacks throwing 5 balls for 10 minutes, and it's like, man, that dude never runs the ball, Well, I would never correct him. And I would never say, hey, you need to check the percentage of run versus pass. I didn't tell them that. I wanted them to write the articles that said I throw it all over the place. Because that defensive coordinator next week is reading your article saying, man, that dude never runs the ball. Well, great. Don't defend the run then. And next thing you know, you got a 4-man box, 5-man box. And here we are, Gash City in the run game. So, don't get it twisted that just because we throw a lot of balls at practice right now, we putting Moffa and Shipley on the shelf. No, this benefits them just as much as it benefits anybody else on our offensive side.
So you're telling us you're using smoke screens right now for all those defensive coordinators out there.
It is what it is. They don't read y'all's articles.
Touche.
Did you think that was an issue the last couple of years, that some defense just didn't respect the passing game was supposed to have, and the line was more crowded, the box was more crowded than usual?
I mean, we didn't complete some balls that we needed to complete to probably loosen them up a little bit, but nah, I mean, I don't think we went into games and said, man, they don't, respect the passing game at all, and but with this version of a system, it's easier to loosen them up, probably versus what we did in the past. And with a guy like, we've talked about Brenny. With a guy like Brenny, is his strength going to be more in the box or matchup problems out in space? Well, let's we're not to say that we're not going to use him in the box, but we'll probably use him more in space than we have in the past, just because the system's a little bit different. So then that benefits him, but it also benefits the run game. You don't need that extra blocker in there sometimes, because the threat of him being out here, it's like Kelsey with Kansas City. You better go out there and defend him if he's out there. I don't care if he's got TE beside his name as tight end. And then what happens? You get even at that level, you get some looser boxes. But at the same time, Brenny and Sage and whoever it is has got to come back in the box and be physical enough to help us in the run game too, because we're not going away from that either. So we're going to be fine.
I think Cade ran a version of this, I guess at Westlake.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I feel like he has a certain comfort, can you tell, with this style? And do you think this
Yeah, I think it fits him well. I don't know like exactly what version of offense he ran, but with his skill set, this is a really good fit for him. But he's loving it and having a ball out there running around making plays, and that whole quarterback group has been awesome to see. Just kind of take in a new coach at their position, but also a new offensive system, and man, they're out there having a blast.
I think the learning curve is kind of an equalizer. Usually the freshmen come in and they're all trying to learn the playbook and the offense. Now you got upperclassmen trying to learn all the same things. Does it kind of bridge the gap a little bit between the classes?
I mean, it's what's been cool about it is just kind of seeing, it's kind of been an equal, level playing field for all the players and a bunch of the coaches too. You got to remember that the coaches don't know the system either. So it's been pretty cool to watch us all just kind of go out there and start from square one, and go learn it and have a good time doing it. And it's just been, the players have been awesome. They've accepted all the changes and have been really excited about it. And like I said, for me, it's a different kind of excitement for me, because now I get to kind of go back to what I loved and what, at the end of the day, I had a lot of success with that offense, which allowed me to get the attention of Coach Sweeney to eventually get a job here. So it's just kind of come full circle to be able to have that offense here now, and for me to continue to grow in it too, and learn new things from Garrett. That's been great for me is to learn the tweaks and why he thinks the way he thinks, and that's only going to make me better for my future too.
One or two more.
Your first year on field here, kind of, I guess, how do you kind of look back at it as a big picture, takeaways, what you learned, that kind of stuff when you're moving?
Yeah. For me, it was the first time ever coaching tight ends. I never coached tight ends before. I coached quarterbacks or receivers. So I was just telling somebody the other day, like, things are so, like, have slowed down for me on the field at practice. And there's two parts to that. The one part of it is I know the system. So that makes things slower for me. But I also know, the ins and outs of tight end play better than I did at this time last year. I understand how a tight end fits within this system probably better than I know how a tight end fit in our previous system because that was new to me. So I was trying to grasp that part of it, where I've played with a tight end before in this system, and coached receivers in this system. So when the tight end's out of the box, it's like he's another receiver. So I just know it better, regardless of whether it's a tight end or a receiver. So to me, it's kind of slowed down to where, and I got a better relationship with the tight ends because we've been together for a year now, that with the guys that have come back. So I trust them more, and they trust me more, and we're just having a good time installing this offense and learning it and growing it. So I would say things have just slowed down for me, and I just see it a little bit better now.
Going to your tight ends, they say motivational Monday, Tupac Tuesday, Wheezy Wednesday.
That's right. Wheezy Whitney Wednesdays.
Wheezy Whitney,
It's a mix. It's a mix.
Sage said that he loves that, no country music allowed.
Mm-mm.
But how do you
I'd walk out of this session if you dropped a country song right now.
How do you use that music to kind of get those guys focused in? I mean, how does that work together?
We got, when we go to practice, we got Tanoga Tuesdays and Working Man Wednesday, and I've always had music, and I've always named it, it's a routine. And I'm trying to build a routine with them. So to me, it's like, all right, well, we're going to have a routine in music when it comes to in the season. So on Tuesday when we come in here and Pac's blasting, you know what today is? It's Tupac Tuesday. It's also Tanoga Tuesday, right? So they connect together, and they know the routine, and they understand it, and they start connecting the dots. They know on Friday's Focus Friday. So on Friday, we have like a 10-minute meeting. That's all we really get. So on Focus Friday, there's no music on Friday, because I need them to understand it's Focus Friday for Clemson football. So there's no music. But, it's Throwback Thursday. You didn't mention Throwback Thursday. That's probably the day they don't like as much, because it's just a mixture of a lot of, 90s and early 2000s, and they're just not as hip to that as I am. But they're starting to really come along on the Wheezy Whitney. Today we had a 6 a.m. position meeting, and I went to wake them up. I'm going to crank something up as loud as we can go. And before I could even hit it, Banks Pope goes, "I'd like to have a little Whitney Houston to get me ready." So, of course, hey, top of our lungs, "I will always love you." And that's how I end this media session. I will always love you. All right?
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Am I good?